Hi, we are team number 1, conformed by Valeria, Danna, Ingrid, Isabel, Itati, and Daniela, and today we're going to introduce our human body book.
Index and Introduction. Introduction. In this book, we will learn and understand the importance and different terms for our human body. More specific is the anatomy and physiology. These branches provide the foundation for understanding the body's structure and function. Anatomical terms. Anatomy is the science that studies body structure and the relationship among them. And the following is what we are about to see.
In here we have an image of the human skeleton in the anatomical position. In this position, the person stands erect, facing the observer with the head level and eyes facing forward. The feet are flat on the floor and direct forward, and the arms are hanging on the sides with the palms facing forward. And there are 3 different human planes, the transverse, frontal, and sagittal. The sagittal plane divides the body into left and right equal sections. The frontal plane divides the body into anterior and posterior sections, and the transverse divides the body into superior and inferior sections.
Human body cavities. Body cavities are spaces that help us to protect, separate, and support internal organs. We have 4 different body cavities: cranial cavity, thoracic cavity, abdominal pelvic cavity, and vertebral cavity.
Continuing with that, we're going to talk about the body membranes and their cavities. In this exercise, we have to fill a table with the body cavity, the organ found inside, and the body membrane that we can also find in there. An example of this will be the cranial cavity, where we can find the brain, that is the organ, and the meninges, that is the body membrane.
Anatomical terms. Anatomical terms can help us define something in the anatomy of our body. For example, in this image, we can see that the yellow lines represent the superior and inferior parts of the body. The green lines represent the medial and lateral parts of the body. The light blue represents the distal parts. The red line represents the proximal parts, and the dark blue lines represent the posterior and the anterior parts of the body. They could be, or they could depend on the point of reference, and here we have some examples of how they can be used.
Epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissues are widespread throughout the body. They form the covering of all body surfaces and line body cavities and hollow organs, and are the major tissue in glands. Their classification is as simple epithelium, the stratified epithelium, and the pseudostratified epithelium. And one of their principal function is substance absorption and transport, secretion, protection, and receptor function. And in the image below, we can see some examples of their classifications.
Then we continue with the connective tissue. Some characteristics is that it is a non-singular material made up of group of substances and fibers, protects and insulates internal organs, and binds together, supports, and strengthens other body tissue. The classification is collagen fibers, reticular fibers, and elastic fibers. The function of connective tissue are to bind organs together, prove support and protection, fill spaces, produce blood cells, and store fat. Examples of each: bone, ligaments, tendons, and cartilage. The muscle tissue. There are 3 types of this: the skeletal muscle, the smooth muscle, and the cardiac muscle. This is the location in the body of each. It is attached to the bone of the skeleton. The smooth muscle is in the blood vessels and the stomach, and the cardiac muscle is found in the wall of the heart.
In here, we have an image of a neuron with the description of its 3 parts: the cell body that contains most of the cytoplasm and the nucleus of the neuron, the dendrites that are the major receiver or input part of the neuron, and they conduct signals towards the cell body, and lastly, the axon that conducts nerves impulses away from the cell body.
Human body tissue. A tissue is a group of similar cells that work together to carry out a specific function. Body tissues can be classified into 4 basic types: according to their function and structure. Here is the reflection about it.
The human tissues that we saw previously have similarities in that, of course, they all contain groups of cells in their functions, such as that they all provide protection and support in the areas where they are located. The difference between these tissues are many since they perform different functions. For example, the nervous tissue transmits electrical pulses and information through the body. In the muscle tissue, we see that it helps the body movements as well as protection to certain organs, such as the heart. In the connective tissue, as we observed previously, supports, protects, and structures other tissues and organs of the body. And finally, the epithelial tissue is mainly responsible for absorbing and transporting substances and nutrients in the body. As we observe, each tissue performs a vital function in our body, and it is important to know what each one does and identify them.
The end. Thank you for your attention.